Welcome back for the final video. 242 videos, 9 months later, it's all come down to this final upload. Thank you everyone for watching my content over the season. It's a genuine pleasure to make content for you, and I still read every comment, even if I'm not able to respond to them all. It's been another great season of growth, like record views on the channel. The app has more than doubled in terms of the amount of managers that use it. Just shy of 500,000 managers use the app now, which is a crazy number. So thank you as well for using the Focal app. It's been great to become a regular on the FPL show as well, and there's some big stuff being worked on over this summer to be ready for you Game Week 1 next season on the Focal app. I hope you've had a great season. There's been a lot of recent comments of success stories heading into Game Week 38, or if it's not been your year, then there's always next season. Anyway, for the last time in 2025-26, what are the top all-time managers doing for Game Week 38? What's the experts team? Kicking off with the final manager highlight, Andrew Moore with a disappointing penultimate game week, I'm sure he'll say. With FPL is such an unforgiving game and nothing's for granted in this game. 53 points he got and a new rank of 325th. With that all said, a top 1k or quite likely a top 500 finish is absolutely stellar. You'd take that at the start of the season. At this final checkpoint, there are 3 managers in this series in the top 1k with him. It's 21 in the top 10k, 55 in the top 50k. Another successful season for sure. Well played if you managed to beat the average expert score, which was 61. The global average was 53. Heading into Game Week 38, amazingly 3 experts have got nothing to spend a transfer on and they're planning to roll. You don't carry the free transfer over to next season, by the way. But fun fact just on that note, if 2 or more managers finish with the same total points, the manager who made the fewest total transfers during the season is ranked higher. Obviously it's a very negligible difference though, like only a small handful of managers are going to be tied with you on points after 38. There will be a few managers out there that will miss out on top 10k just because they've made 1 extra transfer. 56% are making 1 transfer this week, 36% making 2, 5% are making 3. All 3 hits and wildcards used already. So who are the top all-timers buying and selling? Let's take a look at the list. The most bought player is Bowen, 35% buying him ahead of the Leeds fixture. It is a great fixture. Like Brighton registered over 3 expected goals against them last game. They've got loads of injuries, Leeds, and they've got nothing left to play for, so the motivation can't be there. West Ham, it's must win or they're guaranteed relegation to the Championship, so it's do or die for them. And they also need Spurs to lose. Spurs are playing home as well though, versus Everton. Porro and Richarlison, the joint 3rd most popular transfers in at 15%, they're really good picks. Porro's 5.2 mil, Richarlison's 6.4 mil. So if you need a defender, Porro and Mavropanos the best 2 choices. They're the top 2 transfers in among defenders. And if you need a forward, maybe a DCL replacement, then Richarlison's worth considering. He's returned in 3 of his last 4 games. The most sold are Gyökeres, João Pedro, Cherki, Saka, Tavernier and DCL. I mean, with their title secured, Arsenal's lineup ahead of that Champions League final was quite difficult to call. It wouldn't be surprising if we see, Martinelli comes in at left wing, Madueke right wing, the likes of Zubimendi, maybe Norgard and Capi all coming into starting 11. Of course, Gyökeres was named on the bench himself last game, so it's possible he does now get the start. But it's expected to be a send-off game for Jesus as well, so maybe he'll be involved, whether that's off the bench or a start. Some are also making the argument that Arsenal will want to go full strength to get that rhythm heading into the final against PSG. If they make it through the game unscathed, then that's the better approach, because everyone's going to be fully warmed up in rhythm. But any injuries before the final would be such a disaster before their biggest game ever. What do you think Arteta does? Man City are potentially less prone to rotation versus what you'd expect, especially versus Arsenal. It is Pep's final game, it's a home fixture. Could be lots of early subs though, maybe you want to use up all 5 subs. Huge congrats to Aston Villa, who just became Europa League champions. Their season has finished on a huge high, and I suppose they won't care much about this game away at the Etihad, and that'll play into City's hands surely. The number 2 most bought is Oberslav, 20%. 5 gone vomits in his last 6 games. 5 double-digit returns this season, playing Brentford home as well, so he's a really good choice. We've got 2 experts going for the last dance with Salah before he leaves Liverpool after 9 years there. Burnley host Wolves on the final day. We've talked about this fixture in the content a bit already this week. Those have been the 2 teams that we've been targeting by far the most this season. They've conceded more than anyone. Like Burnley with 74 goals conceded in 37, so on average 2 conceded per game. Wolves with 67 conceded. Anthony and Fleming are both being brought in by 7%. Nice cheap picks with potential there. Just quickly then, for the last time there is one chip active. We've got 100% of wildcards, free hits, triple captains all used up, and the very last chip of the season is one bench boost active. Panico decided to save it for Game Week 38 and he shared his team with some Game Week 38 thoughts. So his team is Roofs, O'Reilly, Gabriel, Tarkowski, Szoboszlai, Bruno G, Semenyo, Bruno, Rice, Thiago and Haaland, and the bench is Dubravka, Chow, Krupi and Rodon. I've saved my bench boost to give me the best possible finish at the very end of the season. Traditionally, the end of the season games see a lot of goals, and I've gone with Szoboszlai, as I feel he's going to be heavily involved in a goal fest against Brentford, famous last words. For what it's worth, I actually think both Arsenal and City will start their strongest team. Arsenal will want to prepare themselves for the Champions League final, and City are going to want to give Pep the best send-off, though I could see both teams rotate their best players at some point in their respective games. On the other end of the table, West Ham will have to build a statue of David Moyes if Everton beat Spurs and West Ham beat Leeds. FPL can be very frustrating at times, but it's important to look after your mental health and remember it's just a game to have fun with. And I'll just read this last bit as well. He says, many thanks to FPL Focal in producing these videos, especially bringing on special guests. We look forward to the welcome back next season. Best of luck to everyone. May your arrows be green. Thank you, Panico. So let's move on to captaincy next, and there's 6 names in the mix. I'm sensing a couple of Hail Marys here, what do you think? It's Haaland top with 57%, and then it's Bruno 27%, Bowen 11%, Saka 3%, and then 1 captaincy for Fleming and Salah. It's likely to be a goal fest across the board Game Week 38. Not all games of course, but there will be 2 or 3 where there could be a lot of goals. The final game week averages roughly 3.2 to 3.5 goals per game. That's well above the typical seasonal average of 2.8. I mean, you can easily make narratives about your beliefs, can't you? Like, it's Pep's send-off, Haaland's playing Villa home, they've just played last night, won't be nearly as interested in this game, but then there's Bruno chasing the assist record, Bowen's got everything on the line, you know, he's nailed on for 90, set pieces and pens, etc. Who are you guys captaining? Moving on to the final experts team for Game Week 38. Let's actually run it back for a second, rewind to Game Week 1, just to look at the team then compared to now. It's wild to see how many picks ended up being off the mark. It happens every season, to be fair. No one nails it in Game Week 1. But yeah, the start of every season is always the most difficult part because it's largely a clean slate and there's just so much information to be gathered on all teams and players and, you know, build a new picture. Game Week 1, it was Sanchez, Nico Williams, Porro, Munoz, Palmer, Salah, Anderson, Wirtz, Reinders, Watkins and João Pedro. Like, to be fair, Salah just destroyed the all-time points record, 344 points, so it seemed like a perfectly fine choice to go with him at the start of the season. And Chelsea's opening fixtures were really good, but yeah, Salah and Palmer both disappointed, as did Wirtz, of course. Reinders as well after the very first few game weeks. I think he scored in Game Week 1, Reinders, and he looked like the first bandwagon of the season, and then not much happened after that. Watkins ended up blanking for like 5 straight game weeks. And remember, Villa suddenly couldn't find the back of the net to save their lives. I remember this so vividly because I started with Rodgers and Watkins. I'm pretty sure Aston Villa's first goal as a team was like Game Week 5. Obviously, Villa ended up doing fine, and FPL is all about owning the right players at the right time. Like, Watkins has done very well in other spells during the season. Even Rodgers has. Same with Munoz. So anyway, the final team is Verbruggen, O'Reilly, Gabriel, Van Heck, Saka, Cherky, Bruno, Tavernier, Haaland, Bowen and DCL. And on the bench it's Darlow, Hill, Gross and Struijk. Not enough Saka sales to knock him out of the team. We did see a few different replacements coming in as well, so the ownership in terms of Saka replacements is a bit diluted between, you know, Szoboszlai, Palmer, Antony, etc. And it's very possible Saka starts. Wildcard 32 definitely started so well, didn't it, a few weeks ago, followed by the bench boost, and it looked like it was the winning strategy, but I do think there's definitely a big hangover from that strategy in recent weeks. You know, like double Brighton defence disappointing, Tavernier and Gross have been pretty poor more recently, especially Tavernier. Whereas, you know, Arsenal, they've got 4 clean sheets in the bounce, so if you'd gone with Raya or you added Saliba instead of Verbruggen, you would have ended up on more points. I'm sure there's a lesson in there, and it does feel like every season we get blinded by the double game weeks, and they're generally worth chasing or pursuing them for the upside, but it could definitely backfire. especially when you're selling, tried and tested assets that have been proven quality all season. For the last time, final thoughts and tips from the top all-time managers. Here's what they wanted to say to you ahead of Game Week 38. Sticky FPL says super tricky final game week to call without any obvious standout matchups to target, so it's just a case of trusting your gut. It should open up a world of low-end punts though. I often think rotation concerns can be overstated. Teams are going to want to end on a high in front of their fans, although I would certainly expect a few farewell appearances, and any players of little niggles, which we don't always hear about transparently from managers, will miss out with an eye to European finals or the World Cup, so they will be prioritising switching out obvious doubts and going with at least one viable option off the bench. Benjamin says, "We're finally here, champs, end of the season. Congratulations to you all that achieved your goals this season. Impressive to see currently 111 players in the Experts League being in the top 100k, and even more close to breaking into the top 100k as well. Until next season, fellow managers, over and out." FPL Fady says, "Game Week 38 is here, and with the league sewn up for Arsenal, we face an increased chance of rotation at Arsenal, who've got a Champions League final to come, and Man City in what's going to be Pep's send-off. Having a single plan at this stage will likely be useless, as it will be ripped to shreds by the deadline. The best thing I can do is to advise everyone to map a few different scenarios, identify some danger spots in your team and targets, and go through the scenarios. If we get leaks, they will likely be just a few minutes before the deadline. Instead of having to think on the fly, it will save you time if you have a plan that just needs to be enacted. Bear in mind that if there is a late mad rush, there is also a chance the site may crash. I think with Villa winning the Europa League and having a parade on Thursday, I'd want to have 3 starters from Man City in Pep's farewell game, even if it means hopping on a Foden or a Marmoush. If Cherki is benched and doesn't fall in price before the deadline, I can just about make the move to Foden. However, I also have doubts about Saka playing meaningful minutes, so I'm readying myself for the possibility of a -4 and budget becomes less of an issue. Personally, I will likely be mapping out various scenarios for what I do if anywhere from 0 to all of Haaland, Cherki, O'Reilly and Saka are benched." Nilsey says, "Difficult to say what to do this week. I'm going to wait for possible leaks, but I think Bowen and Porro in for Gyökeres and the defender will be popular moves. I'm also considering Richarlison in as a punt instead of Bowen. Captaincy also dependent on leaks. Bruno probably a sensible but boring pick if there are uncertainties about starts for other options." And lastly, FPL Blue Light says, "What a roller coaster of a season. I'm looking forward to the break from FPL. Have a great summer all and come back fresh for next year." A huge thank you to all the managers that have got involved in this series over the season. Of course, it wouldn't have been possible without their commitment every game week for us. And thank you to Premier Fantasy Tools and Plan FPL as well. Their tools play a crucial part in this series and they're linked in the description. I'll be live for the last time on Sunday for the finale. See you all then.